The last breath of Althara. The star assigned to Maya at birth wasn't anything extraordinary. Althara, her star, was faint and distant, not tied to any famous constellation. There were no illustrious legacies like those of the children of Orion or Andromeda. But Maya loved her star. It was calm, soft, and constant, its light threading through her life like a quiet, gentle guide. Althara's influence made her patient, empathetic, and kind, a person who always sought to help others. Every night, she would gaze up at the dim light in the sky, offering her silent thanks. But everything changed when Maya turned 26. It had been a peaceful birthday, dinner with friends at her favorite spot, a casual stroll afterward. No grand parties, no over-the-top celebrations. That night, like every night, she stepped out onto her balcony to bid her star goodnight. As she looked up, something incredible happened. Althara, her humble, quiet star, suddenly flared to life. Its light exploded in brightness, momentarily outshining the nearby Vega. The golden rays seemed to reach out, brushing her skin with warmth. Maya's breath caught, and when she touched her face, her cheeks were wet with tears. She stood rooted in awe, her phone forgotten in her hand, until a flurry of notifications brought her back to the moment. News outlets were abuzz with speculation, trying to make sense of the phenomenon. Maya opened a forum for people connected to their stars, where fellow Althara-lit were just as astonished, posting pictures of the rare event. But something about that moment felt personal to Maya. The star had flared for her. On her birthday. It was as if Althara was trying to say something Maya didn't yet understand. For months, she basked in the afterglow. Her friends and colleagues marveled at the newfound radiance she seemed to carry, though she couldn't shake the feeling that this brightness was temporary. The attention at work was flattering, but it felt hollow. People were more interested in the spectacle of her star's brilliance than in Maya herself. Ryan, a Regulus lit with a knack for being condescending, made snide comments about how the glow wouldn't last. Maya ignored him, determined to enjoy the time she had with her star. But as summer waned, Althara's light dimmed, little by little. And it didn't stop. At first, Maya tried to convince herself it was normal. Stars brightened and dimmed all the time, right? But as her birthday approached again, Althara faded more, and a pit of anxiety settled in her stomach. By her next birthday, the star was barely visible at all. The online forums were filled with speculation. Some said it was the natural life cycle of a star, but others whispered about a supernova, a star's final breath. Maya refused to believe it. How could Althara, her star, be dying? She started spending her nights glued to the balcony, staring up at the empty patch of sky where her constant companion had always been. Her girlfriend, Sarah, grew frustrated. Sarah didn't understand why Maya was so obsessed. Stars come and go, Maya. It's just the way things are, Sarah had said one evening, after yet another failed attempt to pull Maya away from her nightly vigil. Maya couldn't meet Sarah's eyes. She knew it seemed obsessive. But this wasn't just any star. Her star was disappearing, and with it, she felt an inexplicable sense of loss. "I'm sorry," Maya whispered, not knowing how to explain. "It's more than that. Althara has always been there, for as long as I can remember. I don't know how to be without it." Sarah sighed, rubbing her temples. "But it's not there anymore, Maya. It's just a star. We can still be us, still live our lives without it." But could they? Maya wasn't so sure anymore. She nodded weakly, but her heart wasn't in it. Sarah grew distant after that conversation, and within a few weeks, they'd quietly parted ways. Maya didn't mourn the relationship as much as she thought she would. It had been unraveling for a while, a slow descent into silence and unmet expectations. Maybe Althara's light had blinded her from seeing what was missing between them. Or maybe, without it, everything was becoming clearer. The breakup hurt, but not as much as the thought of losing her star. As days turned into months, Althara's light was barely a glimmer in the sky. Astronomers confirmed what Maya had dreaded. Althara wasn't just dimming. It was collapsing, likely on its way to becoming a white dwarf. A dead star. Maya's friends and co-workers moved on, and so did the online forums, but Maya couldn't let go. She spent countless nights researching, reading about how stars died, hoping for a miracle. She dove deep into conspiracy theories, grasping at straws. Maybe there was a cosmic cloud blocking its light, maybe Althara was in some hidden phase of renewal. But no theory brought her comfort. One night, while scrolling through another fruitless scientific article, Maya stopped and stared at her screen. Everyone has a star, she thought. But what happens when yours dies? There were no answers. Nothing she read could explain what she was feeling, this hollow emptiness where Althara had once been. It was like a piece of her identity had been snuffed out with that distant, dim light. For a while, she wallowed in that emptiness, unsure how to move forward. And then, something shifted. It happened one night as she stood on her balcony again, staring at the blank patch of sky. Althara was gone, and no amount of wishing or research would bring it back. But in the quiet darkness, she began to feel something else: freedom. For so long, she'd let her star define her. It had shaped her personality, her choices, even her relationships. She had been the kind one, the patient one, the person who always put others first. But what if she didn't have to be anymore? What if the death of her star was the universe's way of giving her a choice? Maya realized then that she wasn't bound to Althara anymore. She didn't need its light to tell her who she was. She could be whoever she wanted to be. She could choose her own path. The thought sent a jolt of energy through her, a feeling of excitement she hadn't felt in months. For the first time in a long while, Maya smiled. The following days felt different. She began to assert herself more at work, taking on projects that she cared about rather than the ones others handed her. She reconnected with old friends, making plans for herself, not out of obligation but out of genuine desire. And in those small moments, she felt a growing sense of empowerment. Maya's world didn't revolve around Althara anymore. It revolved around her. One evening, a few months later, she found herself back on the balcony. The sky was full of stars, countless pinpricks of light, and she realized something new. There were always stars, some brighter, some dimmer, some dying and others being born. The universe was vast, filled with endless possibilities. Althara had been a part of her life, a beautiful part. But it wasn't her whole life. Maya could now move forward without it, and in doing so, she could forge a future entirely her own. As she stared up at the twinkling stars, Maya whispered, "Thank you, Althara, for everything." Then she turned and walked back inside, ready to embrace the next chapter, her chapter, bathed not in the light of a distant star but in her own.